Franklin Tourism Commission, December 15th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Board members roll call. Ed Hulfer.
Here.
Jeff Soderski.
Here.
Sean Marufka present. Mark Wiley.
Present.
Barb Wessner.
Here.
No citizens in the room. 6:02, close the citizen comment period. Agenda number 3, Franklin Field Engage Franklin update. We have Mike and Joe here. Hey guys.
Sean, what's going on?
How are you?
Can I sit here?
Yeah.
So, this is more of just Visit Milwaukee. I think last time we said we're going to bring Visit Milwaukee in, have them talk about tourism, talk about the services that they offer, at least for Ballpark Commons, and then maybe just help us sort of think about Engage Franklin. So, I'll let you guys do your intro and then kind of give you the shape.
Agenda 4, Visit Milwaukee. Ladies, you're up.
Great. So I'm Meg McKenna. I'm the Director of Partnership at Visit Milwaukee. And I have Peggy Williams-Smith, our CEO, with us tonight. And we'll just jump right into our
presentation.
Yeah, great.
So, we wanted to come and kind of, as partners with the ROC.
Yeah, great.
So, we wanted to come and kind of, as partners with the ROC, we want to make sure that you guys are successful. We think that a successful region lifts everyone. So we wanted to go through what we do as Visit Milwaukee and what Engage should also do should they become another CVB, and how we can partner together through the ROC to make sure that you guys are successful. So first we're just going to tell you a little bit about who we are. We're a 501c6. That is how we were incorporated in 1967. And we are internationally accredited destination marketing organization through Destinations International, which means that we are part of the circle that allows us to receive leads, to give leads, to do everything that a DMO does, provide services to events, and then participate in conferences throughout the country, and actually the world, on behalf of destination marketing organizations or convention and visitors bureaus. We are a community asset, and we're responsible for selling, marketing, and creating programs that promote the entire Milwaukee region as an attractive travel destination, which in turn enhances our public image as a dynamic place to live and work. We found this a million times over, that the first time someone comes to Milwaukee, maybe because they were at a convention, maybe it's because they were here for a concert, maybe it's because they were here to play a baseball game at the ROC, and maybe this is when they would want to they find the city engaging, and maybe they want to move there. So, and then we provide economic impact, which increases the worth of the city to everyone who lives there and the region. The statute, which I'm sure you're aware of, in Wisconsin, requires municipalities. We are funded through a district. It's called the Wisconsin Center District. That was formed in 1994, and that was in order to build a new convention center. So the moral obligation was given by the state, but they needed a way to fund that, so they created a district. So now we're funded through the district. So we sign a contract, and then we get 45% of that room tax revenue. And then on top of that, as you'll hear, we have partnership revenue, we receive grant revenue, and then we have partner programs and other things that we do to increase our revenues so that we can continue to market and sell the city. We also receive direct funding from the city of Wauwatosa. So we collect a portion of county tax through the Wisconsin Center District. Wauwatosa does give us a portion of their city tax so that we can help them to market their city, and it also allows them, if they want to travel with us to trade shows. And our organization is going to attend more trade shows. And our organization is going to attend more than 60 trade shows this year. Actually, 4 people with us. Marissa was going to be here today. She's attending a sports conference right now. Our VP of Sales is out in Washington, D.C., attending a meeting planner conference with another one of our salespeople. And then the remaining conference with another one of our salespeople. And then the remaining hospitality taxes for Milwaukee, the city, which is food, beverage, and car rental, are retained by the Wisconsin Center District to pay down the bond debt on our convention facilities and the Miller High Life Theater. And then the expansion, there is no tax money going towards the expansion. It is so.
How do you get your fundraising in? 45% goes to you from.
We had a graphic coming up.
The
Okay.
Wisconsin
Okay,
Center
cool.
District.
Thanks.
There it is.
So of the tax, the hotel tax, 5% goes to the state of Wisconsin. The city of Milwaukee's hotel tax is 7%. County gets 3%, goes to the Wisconsin Center District. In unrestricted funds, 45% comes to us. So the only way we make more money is if we sell more rooms. That is how we get more money.
And partnerships.
And partnership. And our partnerships start at $99 and range. Hotels pay a per room fee from Visit Milwaukee. Go ahead, Meg.
Okay, so we measure, we like to use the overnight spending as kind of the primo measurement of that we're doing our job well, because it is that perfect circle of hotel room tax dollars that fund the whole thing, and the next just hotel room tax dollars that fund the whole thing, and the next just is one circle. But in doing that, then, you know, an overnight visitor comes in and they spend, you know, a certain amount per overnight stay. They need to get here. They need to eat while they're here. They're likely going to do some shopping. I'm sure you guys are all looking at the same thing. Likely going to do some shopping. I'm sure you guys are all looking at the same thing. This is what our research says are incoming overnight visitors and how they allocate their money while they're here. 30% coming to how they're getting here. Food and beverage, they're spending 23% of their spend while they're here. On that, lodging at 19%, retail 16%. On that, lodging at 19%, retail 16%, and recreation. And all of these categories are opportunities for the businesses in the surrounding area to reap the benefit. That's that one of the economic impacts that we're driving towards the betterment of all the residents, and in particular business owners. So, and in particular business owners. So, because you know, they're just going to need and want so many things while they're in your destination. So this is partnership, basically.
And we are actually moving towards looking at the NAICS spending, which is a category that the Wisconsin Department of Revenue puts out every year, so we can better measure. This is a national Wisconsin Department of Revenue puts out every year, so we can better measure. This is a national split from tourism economics. We just started specifically subscribing to tourism economics, and we'll show you that in a minute. That shows exactly what the spending, not that breakout yet because we need a full year, but it will show you some really interesting information, and I think some really interesting information about Franklin.
And then I guess maybe one other point to make, again, the difference between a day tripper and an overnight tripper is that, and the reason why we like to look at the overnights is that, you know, we hope that those are new dollars coming into the state. We're not shuffling our own state money around, but that hopefully those are Northern Illinoisans and people just living in other state.
In terms of when you do create, of having a partnership department, because then it gives buy-in to your partners and your stakeholders, and then they will want to help promote the city as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of times, so I like to think in my head that we can say to our partners, where we go, you go, whether they're about with us or because they're, you know, we actually are somehow useful to what it is that we're trying to do. So we hosted travel writers recently. We needed our partners like the public market to actually make certain that they turned out for these travel writers. We had to call them up. This is where it's a two-way partnership. It's a two-way partnership. In engaging in our partnership with the DMO, the Destination Marketing Organization, you're kind of saying, we'll be there for you so that you can sell the city. We want to be a part of this economic strategy. So it's another reason to do partnership. It's a signal of that engagement.
And just to
it's a signal of that engagement.
And just to clarify, so a partner business is like what we do with you guys, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. So we have partners across every different type, because I mean, there's things that I would have never thought coming into the organization 2 years that would be partners, because how would they benefit from tourism? That would be partners, because how would they benefit from tourism? But they do. Mm-hmm. They find the reason why it does benefit them. A lot of it has to do with our PR team, our communications team. We pitch stories all the time, and the more information we get from our partners, the better stories we can pitch about our destination. Partners, the better stories we can pitch about our destination.
I also use the pitch when I'm talking partnership with people is that we're a great aggregator. Like, we're at a lot of the meetings where things are being talked about. If you partner with us, like, that saves you a lot of time. You just need to keep in touch with us,
Right.
and we'll tell you what's going on. We'll tell you how to get in touch with us,
Right.
and we'll tell you what's going on. We'll tell you how to get in touch with someone that you need to get in touch with for your own ideas and what have you. So it's a great association to belong to because we're going everywhere. We have a team of 30. What are we at? 37,
34.
34.
We were at
And
50 before the pandemic.
And-
Before the pandemic.
and you know, we're out in many different meetings and learning all things that are happening and opportunities that are out there, and so it's
And not
another-
just here, across the country. I think that's the bigger part because we're talking to people who aren't here.
Yeah. And then just a little bit more expanded levels of categories that that are part.
So, and hopefully you guys talk about this, the sports.
We will. We'll
division.
get there. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a big part.
Yeah,
So
and
talk
we
about-
couldn't execute on it for a number of reasons, but like those types of opportunities were born out of these relationships at a national level, right?
That's a great. Here's another good example. If you're talking about the USA Triathlon.
No.
No,
those
I
are
was-
different
the-
events.
the-
So,
baseball
but
Olympics.
I'm going to use the USA. So it's the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District. What's the relevance of this partnership? Which is a whole different topic. But while we were there on tour, the MMSD person who works for Veolia says to us, when your triathlon comes in again next year, I would like to come up with a way to engage with the triathlon because our goal, we'd like to get them over here so they can see how we do it and we can show off like how. So, you know, relevance
Right.
comes in really odd ways on partnership.
And then also making sure that you're engaging with the corporate community in Franklin so that they are supporting it as well.
Yeah,
So these are our corporate partners that
yeah.
that pay attention, that look, because they also look to us for, and a lot of the things we have assets over, I don't know, 200,000 video and photo assets that our partners can use when they're recruiting. So we become a resource for these companies when they're recruiting. So we become a resource for these companies when they're recruiting people to the destination to live, because we make it look so good for people to visit. It also makes it look good for people to live as well. Then you know, this is how it's all connected. And you anywhere on the circle, you build a place where people want to visit, that becomes a place where people want to live, where they want to work, and where business has to be. This was our 2020 annual report data of what tourism generated. Now this is Milwaukee County, which obviously includes Franklin. We, in a year, $5.6 billion of labor income from tourism, and the jobs were 52,000 and now they're 39,000, and then the taxes generated were 271. I want to say they were, and I'm doing this off memory, like 577 in 2019. And when you go, did I miss one? No, we must have accidentally taken it out. It's in. It also shows you some more detailed numbers in terms of room nights and meetings that happened. If you go to the next slide. This is always interesting when you start to hire someone and you start to talk. Don't ever ignore any of the seasons, because this is not overnight. This is total visitations. It's anyone who lives outside of 60 miles. But we are pretty evenly split amongst the seasons for people who come to visit, and they're still spending money in your location. So this is a dashboard that we didn't get a chance to show you. That actually shows a domestic visitor summary from January 1st through October 31st. And this is really, I think, interesting to look at, that the top 6 counties of origin for overnight visitors all fall within Wisconsin. Now maybe that has something to do with the pandemic and people were more afraid in the last year to get on a plane. But out of the top 10, 6 counties are Wisconsin. When you look at the states to the side, 18.3% come from Illinois, and then it goes down from there. And then it gives you the top 10, points of interest visited. Now we're working to change these so that we can have the rock in there. We put this together before you were a partner, so we can see Menominee Valley is Potawatomi. That is the number one point of interest. The most people who stay overnight visit Potawatomi. The most people who stay overnight visit Potawatomi.
So strange.
Then
It is strange in my mind, though.
yeah, it is.
Isn't it?
But it's the largest casino
Yeah.
in the Midwest. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Then you look at Bronzeville, Lindsay Heights, and Harambe. That's actually the Deer District is in there. So we're separating that out because it does. District is in there. So we're separating that out because it does look a little bit deceiving. But with the Bucks playoffs and the
Yeah.
Deer District, and we had Ryder Cup with parties in there, that fell in there. But I think the other thing, the origin demographics. The median household income is $70,000 for people who visit here, and because of the age groups and under the age of 18, and that means that they're here with parents. So we are a family place to visit.
So how does this data, I mean, is this the first year you guys are running this
Yes.
level of, okay.
First year, so
Yeah, in a kind of a COVID-ish year, right?
correct.
So it's-
Well, we can go back 2 years, so I can look at 2020. So it would give me one. This is an example. I can give you anything you need that starts in January of 2020. If you go to the next slide.
it'll be interesting to see how that changes once, you know,
Right.
if ever we get out of this pandemic.
Exactly. So, sales deployment, we have a sales team of 10 that goes out. They have different market segments. Under that falls our, which we're going to talk about in here. But we have specific verticals that we go out and we look for that bring business into the city, and those change based on what's happening. So these verticals are new based on what happened with the pandemic, with what we saw was coming back faster. And the reason why we fast-tracked starting the sports commission was because of youth sports. We can go to the next. Commission was because of youth sports. We can go to the next slide. Yep, so if you go to the next
Sorry.
one. Oh, no, go down. Go to the next one. Between 2015 and 19, youth sports and amateur sports tourism grew 20%, and it was a $45 billion business. And during the pandemic, sports tourism, billion-dollar business. And during the pandemic, sports tourism was the saving grace for the tourism industry. January through March, in downtown, the only thing we did in the convention center was youth sports. It saved our restaurants because those people go out to eat. It saved our retail because they're shopping. So it is something because they're shopping. So it is something that we've been focused on for a while. We know the business that The Rock generates and what it is doing for the hotels over by the airport when they can't get into the hotels that are here. The other piece that I'm sure you're aware of, because I'm assuming you're from the Polish Center, is
Correct.
weddings. So aware of, because I'm assuming you're from the Polish Center, is
Correct.
weddings. So social is also.
How did you assume that?
Because he's got a shirt on.
You look Polish.
And also Polish Fest. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, are you okay? So you can tell that weddings is the other thing that really helped. And then we're a sports city. We have really helped. And then we're a sports city. We have 8 professional sports teams. And
Thank you.
we do.
Some people don't recognize
if
the
they-
wave.
well, I got yelled
I
at.
appreciate it.
So-
We see you.
Someone yelled at
I
me
appreciate that.
in
It's
a
good to be
meeting
seen.
because they said that they were not. They didn't say you, but the Milwaukee Torrent. And I'm
What's
like, we
Torrent?
consider anyone who's
Outdoor
paid. They get
page.
paid to play, and this is a big deal for us, and it does bring in sports tourism. So what I wanted to show you here is pretty interesting, and it's going to show you more detail on the next one. So this was just October, and when you look at Milwaukee South, that includes Franklin, and you guys were at 60, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm going to show you next is going to be more interesting for you guys after you provided us with some information. So, and I pulled June, July, and August as well, and you see the spike when you see the spike when you have tournaments, and then the dip when you don't. So if we go into
And what is this?
economics, the program is called Symphony, so this is what we subscribe to.
Okay.
So this is, we can provide you, we're going to start putting a dashboard on our website because we think it's important to measure all of these things. This is just October, not year to date. But this helps us to figure out where business is coming from. So I will tell you where business is coming from. So I will tell you during 2020, the South did better the entire time. That was because we had a lot of construction crews. The hotels by the airport were willing to play in terms of housing first responders, all of those different types of things. And the suburban hotels, the Oak Creeks and the suburban hotels, the Oak Creeks and the Franklins of the world, they were still getting a lot of that contract business that had to come in regardless of whether or not there was a pandemic. Whereas downtown, all but shut down.
Next slide.
Yeah. So this is really interesting. The top is the south and the bottom is county. And I didn't do it versus downtown, but what I think is really interesting is if you look at these months right here when the Rock had tournaments. So as we all know, July was the run up to the playoffs, which was huge. The highest month we've had in the county altogether was September during the Ryder Cup. Okay, and you can see that here with 66%. The county was high in this is county, this is south, right here. So 62% for the county.
All the way around.
Sorry, 50 really quick. June tournaments at the Rock. Okay, go back up. July. Now, July, busy downtown. We ran a really high occupancy. Now we crushed everyone in rate because our rates were really high with the Bucks. South, 70.5. County, 62. Wait till you see August. Oh, go back up.
One more.
One more. 67.2 for the south, and 59% for how it behaves and how it went down because there weren't events at the Rock, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
And all of this data, so as you guys as a tourism commission are looking to increase your tax base, this data will help you to attract hotels. It'll help you to attract businesses because we can provide you with the data that's showing that the average, and I didn't put it in this slide, and I should have. I was looking at it because I'm doing my board meeting tomorrow. When we gave the overall October summary, you can see that for the nation, occupancy is running around 60. County is running about 54%, but the South is running very close to the national average. So that means that you have space for additional hotels in the area. So I thought that's interesting. And then this is the economic impact that the Rock brought. So we have an economic impact calculator. It's impact that the Rock brought. So we have an economic impact calculator. It's part of the program that we get. So we can calculate what the economic impact of any sporting event is. We do it obviously for the Brewers because they create a huge economic impact. And then we do it for the Bucks as well, but we can do it for any of our partners, for the Bucks as well, but we can do it for any of our partners. We do it for festivals. We can do it we're buying the festival calculator. We never had it, but we're buying it for this year. But the Bucks is really what made us purchase the sports one this year because everyone kept asking us to calculate what that was worth to the region.
So that's is that 12 for the tournaments that we do?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
So what economic impact is it measures directly. I did the math. So the average rate for the Franklin hotels ran. This is also interesting. In 2019, your average rate was $87.52. In 2021, right now, you're through October. No one else is that close. If you just look at room revenue, you produced $344,000 in room revenue based on that average rate. I would argue that it's probably higher because the summer months we run a higher average rate, but I just did the quick math. Economic impact looks at what every individual business pays in taxes and how they employ people. So it's a widely used number in tourism throughout the world using economic impact.
Direct and indirect spending.
It's direct and indirect spending.
Now, when you say hotels, are you including the motels that are in the...
Yeah, so only the ones that report. Yeah, so only the ones that report to us. And you do have motel, not to us, but to STAR, which is the industry. STAR is the Smith Travel Research Report, and that is the measure of hotel success throughout the nation. And I think 7 of the Franklin hotels are on there. I think 7 of the Franklin hotels are on there. I can send that to you, yeah.
I'd appreciate it.
It's, we were talking about it today. Do you remember the name? It's the...
Are you talking about the smaller ones?
Right, the smaller ones.
Right, you,
that
you guys help us out with the names of the smaller ones. They're not partners.
There's one on
at
27th
St.
Street.
You know, like the motels, the
Yeah,
The little
there's
motels.
there's a street.
You know, like the motels,
Yeah.
The little
Motels.
ones.
There's
American,
Shady
is there
Baxter. Do
American?
they?
There's,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I'll send
little
it to you
ones.
because it shows you. It'll show the star report. I can send you the most recent one, but it does show the.
Some of those folks do the construction workers and things like that as
Oh,
well.
sure.
I
Okay.
just want to see how that all plays in there.
Is Franklin from our star report, so I can't get the specifics. It counts the South. It's something you guys should be subscribing to so that you can see how you're faring against your. You should probably get a star report, even if it's just quarterly. I don't know that you need to measure it monthly at this point, but it is something that you should look at so that you can see. Because I'm lumping in the airport hotels as well as Oak Creek, and we know that the Rock is pushing people. Because when the two hotels that are right by the Rock sell out, they push out to those hotels. Because when we have the meetings, they often talk about the tournaments that are happening at the Rock.
So is it a fair statement, correct, that if Franklin doesn't have enough hotels or engaged businesses that are trying to tell their story to these visitors, that there's serious leakage from a Franklin perspective? I mean, it's getting captured.
money left on the
That sort of
table.
Franklin perspective. I mean, it's getting captured.
money left on the
sort of
table.
eventually
Yes.
into Greendale
Yeah,
and
It's
Oak
gonna
Creek.
go somewhere else.
Right.
Absolutely.
People are still gonna eat, people are
Right.
still gonna shop, people are still gonna fill
Yep.
up for gas, people are still gonna do what they need to do. They're just not gonna do it in Franklin if the businesses aren't convenient.
Yeah.
And you have a much different target demographic when you're looking at this in terms of when you start your own DMO or tourism commission. You know, if you're going to expand, because it like you could do gas stations. We don't have gas stations in downtown Milwaukee, right? Like those aren't partners for us, but you have.
But that's part of the
Milwaukee, right? Like those aren't partners for us, but you have.
But that's part of the part of the $12 million, right?
It is. Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. For you, it is.
Yeah, so I think that's a really interesting narrative as we think about Engage Franklin and how, like, what value proposition are we trying, like, how do we get other businesses to engage? Like, there's this amount of money that is being generated. How do we form a cohort to capture as much of that as possible?
And this kind of gives you, so obviously we're not going to go through this, you can read it at your leisure, but this kind of gives you a roadmap to what it is Visit Milwaukee does, and obviously and obviously when we look at smaller tourism, accredited DMOs take time and take money. Hopefully, you know, if you can get there someday, but you know, through the Rock, we can certainly help you as much as we can to get you close. Because, you know, like we said, the more you're never gonna have enough hotels to house all of the business. So and we sell out too often where we need you. So it's just helpful to work together. And we found that with Wauwatosa, they've really enjoyed. We've done some specific campaigns for them during those time frames, and that's why they've decided that they're going to continue to partner with us. And then there's some regional facts, and all of this is things that we provide and that the Rock has access to. Like we said, photos, facts about Milwaukee, facts about the region, all of these different. And then if you go to the next page, some of the new developments which help drive tourism investment is huge. All of these things help to drive people into our city that we talk about. Any questions?
What do you guys estimate the revenue that's gonna come in off of this tourism yearly? Like, how do you guys estimate how much you're gonna have, how do you guys estimate how much you're gonna have coming in for, let's say, 2022, 2023? That's our biggest challenge right now. Is things like you mentioned, like the construction that, like if hotels are at occupancy with the construction workers, we were told that hotels are at occupancy with the construction workers, we were told that like the hotels don't have to pay a certain tax back to the city, which then hurts us.
For which groups is that?
If they stay more than
That's
30
upstairs.
days.
Upstairs?
Yep,
They're
upstairs.
gonna pay room tax.
Is there a stair
Yeah.
from here on?
So,
I don't know. Let me,
Alright.
that's a
So
good, that's
what
a
we're
very
having-
good thing.
So what we're trying to do is, we're trying to get wrapped in our head is how we can consistently figure out
Well, how much you're gonna make in revenue.
how much you're gonna make in revenue, based kind of like a model like you have, like if hotel occupancy rate is gonna be here, there's in the last 4 years that I think we've sat here. And one of them has been, since the pandemic, the big topic is we went into the Franklin Field agreement during the pandemic. And the big question is like, do we have the funding? Do we have the money to support this? And then there was an inconsistency of how we were going to track them into us. And a lot of it was because the claim of hotel stays wasn't technically tourism. So there was a
Because-
big,
like short-term rental?
yes, short-term rental is the term that they used. So for us, when doing the budget and trying to come in with consistency of how much we're going to make based off of occupancy, trying to figure out that projection of us where we're going, and with everything going on at the Rock and in the community, it's kind of hard for us to do that based off of.
Well, let me look into.
It's kind of hard for us to do that based off of.
Well, let me look into this because I've not ever heard that they don't pay tax. The people who don't pay tax are if you're offering a federal or a state per diem rate, they would not pay the hotel tax because they don't pay tax. But I've not heard the 30-day
Yeah,
thing.
legally
so
we get more of like. That's why I'm kind of curious as to how, because technically, you guys are still collecting in off of any hotel.
and we do it off Airbnb.
Yeah.
Airbnb.
interesting.
So you should be collecting
So that was
Airbnb,
another-
and
I have
that
an
should
email.
that should come directly to you. And we did just start measuring Airbnb because there's a star report Airbnbs in the suburbs than there are in downtown. So let me look at that because you should be receiving directly from the municipality that money.
So I would love to know more of what you know about Airbnb, because we were told we do not get anything from Airbnb
So
stays.
it's a matter, so what I learned is that each city,
So I'd love to
yeah.
pick that out.
And
I
I'm
would love
telling
any
you right
information
now,
that you have on that.
it's already been to the state a million times. So I belong to Destinations Wisconsin, which is the governing body of DMOs in the state. And this is always a topic of conversation. Now, we don't get the money directly, so some of these questions are hard for me to answer because we
Dig into our
Perfect.
information.
Okay.
That's kind of all I'm really
Yep.
asking for. It's just a matter of we get hammered on that. Do we have funding for this? Do we have this? Pandemic. Hotel stays are changing. They're not tourism. They're this. And then the question that always gets thrown into, if you have the money in your account, like, so we're trying to understand,
Sure.
really wrap around I'm trying to understand where all that money is coming into, that flow. And Airbnb, I'm glad you brought that up because that has been an issue. And the construction and, like, you used the word, what word did you use?
And I'm just curious, to what degree do you work with your finance director?
I can ask questions.
Okay.
I'm a volunteer, so
And that's in flux because
we're at the
Because he's
flex-
retiring.
So that's the thing. Like I'm learning the game on like how to get answers, but at the same time, I trust that I'm getting communicated the right information. So that's where like your support of like
Sure.
telling me like what are the Airbnb rules like. And
I'll send
what
you
guys are
directly
noticing.
from Destinations Wisconsin. There's
That would be
a hard
that
and
would be
fast
really
rule,
helpful.
and there's also something that's happened. Destinations Wisconsin. There's
That would be
a hard
that
and
would be
fast
really
rule,
helpful.
and there's also something that's happening right now with third-party OTAs and tax collection there, which is also affecting some of the municipalities getting the money to their tourism commissions. So this is happening a lot in the smaller. So I don't know it. This is happening a lot in the smaller, so I don't know it. I can speak about mine, but I can send you some of that stuff so that you can then, maybe there's some resources within Destinations Wisconsin that you can use that can help you as well.
It's more like I'm trying to connect the dots because we're always told, what if this money might be there, and then all of a sudden it appears.
Well, you're trying to justify it, right? But I think you go back to this page, right? Like,
Yeah.
these are the room nights that you guys actually, we think it's more than that.
I'm looking at
room
12
nights,
million.
12 million. And I think what's probably happening.
That's economic
Right?
impact, though. That's
No, cut it in half.
everything.
Cut it in half. Whatever.
So,
That's
Yeah,
the benefit
right?
of the
So what
community.
do you guys? So as the tourism commission, what do you get? You just get 70% of the bed.
Food and beverage or car rental, it's
Okay.
just the tax from the hotel.
And
then
are
the
you
city gets
8%?
a percent.
Is it 8% for the
It
city?
just raised.
To 8%, okay.
Yes.
So you are 8%. Okay. So you have to get 70%, and any auditor in the city, when the city gets audited, so TOSA got audited, and we had a contract with TOSA and tell tax. And they had to call us afterwards, and they weren't trying to mess with us, but they literally thought because of the pandemic in 2020 that it was down, and they're like, we owe you another $35,000 because they audit us. So
There's no, yeah, I can tell you there's nobody going out to the hotels to actually,
There's no enforcement.
there's no enforcement. There's nobody going out to the hotels to actually,
There's no enforcement.
there's no enforcement.
Okay.
No.
So I think that's part of it, but the Airbnbs bring up a really good question because of, that was a big topic of conversation. And then.
Have
the
you
short-
gone on Airbnb and looked to see what level of properties you have?
That's a good idea, I should do that.
Yeah, just a quick look Airbnb and look to see what level of properties you
That's
have.
a good idea, I should do that.
Yeah, just a quick little feel for how many properties are on there.
I would think with some of these big homes that you'd be making some money on Franklin. It's in tourism economics. So what I can do is I can send it over.
We have a new,
to you guys?
I think there's a new replacement at City Hall for accounting, isn't there?
I don't know if they're on board yet.
Okay, so regardless, if the information you give me, then I can kind of
Yep.
put that front
I will do that.
forward,
Yep.
just try to like just start that conversation.
Sure.
So
Dig into that. We also have
Airbnb,
legal
yeah,
that can look
Airbnb
at
though,
it.
is, in many respects is a self-submit,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
and if the city isn't enforcing at all or doing checks on enforcement,
I'll share with all of you the email, because I know like you guys weren't here when that came out, but it was, there was a topic of conversation of what we're supposed to be getting, and it was shut down right away.
I think too, with the more sports tournaments you're going to do, a lot of families, because there's washers and dryers in an Airbnb, they can have
Yeah, that's interesting.
two families come and stay in one Airbnb. They can bring their own food. So it is definitely, there is a definition of Airbnb. It has to, if it's rented out less than 10 times a year, they don't pay tax. But if it's more than 10 times a year, they have to pay tax.
Yeah,
10
we don't
nights,
have the
sorry.
staff right now to monitor.
No, they don't. I mean, but it's as simple as like,
If they sign up with Airbnb, which is what most people want to do, because that's how they get seen, because just renting your house on Craigslist doesn't do the same thing, then they are reporting to Airbnb, and I can see those numbers.
There's
now.
at least one.
Yeah, I can see those numbers. If it's one, then you're, I can see those numbers. If it's one, then you're,
You're looking?
yeah. I don't know
What's
what
the
Franklin
rate?
would be. I think I remember seeing Greenfield had quite a few, so it was interesting.
and then pre-pandemic, I was looking at Wauwatosa's ordinances too. So ask them if you guys don't already know, are there any restrictive ordinances in terms of where Airbnbs are allowed to be and like the amount of time they're supposed to be rented. Because some of the smaller municipalities were doing that pre-COVID. They were in the midst of doing that. So.
Okay,
It's a lot of flux.
Because
still
there's
in
a lot
that
of
market.
parties,
Yeah.
so there's also
To doing that. So.
okay.
It's a lot of flux.
because
still
there's a
in
lot
that
of
market.
parties,
Yeah.
so there's also some issues with Airbnb right now. Yeah.
Great.
Do you guys have, and to me it doesn't matter if it's your figures, what I'm looking for is there a thumbnail ratio. Select what percentage male ratio. Select what percentage of your partnership money, what percentage of your overall income is that? Do you have an idea?
Oh yeah. Yeah, 85% of our money comes directly from hotel tax.
No, well, I'm not those,
Oh.
like any sponsor, anything like that.
So, we've not been very good at co-op advertising right now, if that's what you're
Are you
asking.
talking about partnerships?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's using advertising for partnerships. So, you want to know how much of our budget is partnerships?
Mhm. And it doesn't have to be exact.
Yeah,
I'm just
It's
trying
like
to see a rule of thumb.
18 far down.
Well,
with
we
the-
also did a price decrease,
Right.
So that we can be more inclusive.
But what
Yeah.
I'm looking
But you guys
at.
have a lot more hotel, like, so, well, that's interesting, I think, so like Franklin only has, how many hotels do we have? Two?
8.
No, there's,
Yeah.
Well, like real, like meaningful
Like 3
hotels.
big ones,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Three,
3,
yeah.
but the little ones.
But we had a lot of business. So I think the opportunity in Franklin, when you look at like hotels, that's sort of easy. As a matter of fact, the benefactors are Oak Creek by the airport, which I want to talk about later, which is what should we go to them and say, hey, listen, you really need to participate because you're a great benefactor of this. But I think that that metric might be a little different just based on. But I think that metric might be a little different just based on, you know, the fact that Franklin doesn't have a lot of hotels, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, that's
our,
why I'm looking at, I'm sorry, that's why I'm looking at other partners, because the way you had
Yep.
your program set up,
Yep.
you're gonna go out and trying to sell to the other people.
Yep.
Your program set up,
Yep.
you're gonna go out and trying to sell to the other people.
Yep.
So I'm just trying to get what's a realistic good percentage.
Oh,
for
sure, and I
example.
can give you DMO, the average for DMOs, because some are a lot higher, especially when you look at smaller ones. Partnership actually rivals what they're getting in room tax when you have a smaller area, because they're trying to build up the tourism, which I think is what your play would be. Is
Right.
you want to build up the tourism, you want to be able to market to anyone who's coming in, so they get a place on your website. So when people are saying,
Yeah, we want to tell this story, the $12 million story.
well, when
right?
I'm coming to Franklin for a tournament, this is where I can go shopping. This is where I can do that. So by doing that, creating a partnership model, you can then give them. Then you have a reason to put them on your website, and now they have a reason to know that people are going to them. So
Then the
Yeah.
other thing I would just be curious about is, what programming as opposed to the overhead.
for us, marketing, sales and marketing, this year, 91% of our revenue is spent on sales and marketing.
No.
Actual sales. That includes our people, but sales and marketing. That means that we are out there right now, our marketing budget, so we separate it out. And then, so we're putting nearly, well, we're budgeting this year for a loss. So we're dipping into our reserves because we are paid on the taxes from the prior year. So in 2020, we still, on papers and payments, because there wasn't cash coming in. So this past year, we went from 10.2 to 4.1. We cut all of our expenses so that we would not go out of business, even though we had reserves. And then with the grants we got, this year we're spending more money. So we're going to show a $4 million loss, because we really believe that we're out there spending money, telling people that we're open, that you need to come here. This is a great place to have your convention, your sporting event. And that also includes going to trade shows, and we're going to over 60 trade shows this year. So that's that's part of what, we hope that eventually when we start going, so you can talk to people, and then you're selling the rock. We sell the whole city no matter what, the whole region. But if you come, then what happens at these trade shows is they see who's coming and what they represent, and they sign up to talk to you, because it might be a tournament that only wants the rock. Now you have the opportunity to bring business versus something, that would happen downtown.
Yeah, I'm sure you must have stuff over the 4th of July, right?
Yeah.
So the Croatian soccer field's having a tournament that they're bringing people in from around the Midwest, and it's like
On the 4th?
Yeah. We got 2 hotel information to those people that are coming for that.
Well, I will tell you, you may have an in then if you want to speak, because Marissa, who's the director of our sports commission, is Croatian and very big into the Croatian.
And very feisty. Very feisty.
And I'm pretty sure that she helped to bring that there, because she's got a very special place in her heart for that place. She's got a very special place in her heart for that place. She must have mentioned it 7 times in our meeting.
Yeah.
So maybe
Good
she
to know.
might be able to get your restaurant named.
Good to know.
So, and then the other thing we do is we provide services. Now, obviously, being something that's small, you probably don't, but we provide services to the conventions that come in. So when someone comes in, we put up banners that say if it's big enough, or if it's someone who's come to us, welcome to Milwaukee. You know, if it's a qualifying team, we put people at the airport. We have a booth at the airport. We put people at the airport. We have a booth at the airport. We may activate the airport for the Ryder Cup. We had putting contests. We actually help the convention. This is what helps with our partners as well, because they come to us and say, oh, where should we have our dinner on Thursday night? Oh, you should go to the Polish Center on Thursday night. And then, you know, from there they make the decision of where they're going to go. We have American Legion coming in over Labor Day of 2022, and they are 8,000 people. So they have been here a million times to see everything because they have so many different events that are taking place throughout. The same would be with Republican National Convention. They'll be everywhere. So.
Can you talk more about the relationship with TOSA? Just so, I mean, and I don't know if that's an option for this group, but you know, obviously everybody is excited about the idea of creating a DMO and you know, being inclusive with other businesses. But I mean, is another option for these folks to consider is to have you help there?
Absolutely, and I mean, we would definitely look at it. I mean, to help you get to where you need to go is something that we could absolutely do as well, because we've done that before where we've worked that we could absolutely do as well, because we've done that before where we've worked with someone until they said, you know what, because it's a conundrum, right? Because we're selling the big, right? We're out there selling the big, which helps lift the entire region, but I think what typically tends to happen in a smaller city, but I think what typically tends to happen in a smaller city is that you'll have constituents who will say, well, you know, what are you doing for us? But those things don't drive tourism and tax dollars into the city. When you do a 4th of July event, it's not
Right.
No one's coming to stay
Yeah.
over. No one's coming to stay overnight, and our job is to bring outside people in. So, you know, it's certainly something we can look at. We did do some work with some other municipalities. Actually, when you said Oak Creek came to us right before the pandemic, because what they were seeing was a lot of what I just said. And the commission who oversaw the person was like, we're not seeing occupancy. We're not getting more hotel room tax. What are you doing for us now?
So having like farmers markets and activating Drexel Town Square, and, right.
Which is all great for the
Super-
city.
yeah,
super great, but it doesn't drive tourism. And our job is to drive tourism, and we know that's what we need. We came after you guys because we know that our airport hotels, prior to me getting here, would always complain that we didn't do anything for them. Well, we want to be partners with people who are doing business that is going to bring business over here. How can we increase our footprint and make sure that the money is being spread further? And that's what we're looking to do. So it's certainly a conversation we would welcome having about what it would look like, but then just going in with clear expectations so that we were on the same page, knowing that some of those things, like some of them, I think TOSA still has a director, right? Do they have a director of their tourism? I think TOSA still has a director, right? Do they have a director of their tourism?
She's not called director, but
Yeah. So they still have someone that they don't
tourism
pay. Like, so we were telling you guys, they are hiring someone in Glendale, and they're paying what, 90 grand?
yeah,
90 grand. So if you want someone, 90 grand?
yeah.
90 grand. So if you want someone who's going to be focused and be able to do and start creating an organization, you're going to have to pay more. Like in TOSA, I think the person is more in the 50.
Yeah, I don't know.
50,000, because
she's got benefits though, and they
Exactly.
don't have benefits in Glendale.
Right, but just something to think, putting this out there.
Is Oak Creek moving forward with the partnership?
So the conversation stalled during COVID. It absolutely stalled. And I'm sure because they're part of the South, they're doing pretty well right now. They did much better with the downtown hotels being closed. So I don't know. I don't even know if they have a tourism person. They lost
Yeah,
3.
right.
So they were using a marketing firm.
Oh.
So, and the marketing firm's the one who reached out to us.
Okay.
Because they thought that they were not capitalizing on what they needed to with tourism.
Is that Savage?
Savage, yes.
Oh, Corey.
Yeah,
Corey?
yeah.
Okay.
So he's actually the one who set up the
He's
meeting.
a Franklin guy too.
Yes.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
He's
So,
a good guy. He does West Dallas too.
yeah. And TOSA also uses an outside marketing firm as well to do their own marketing. They created their own branding for the city. So theirs is global,
like because they're fireflies, so glow boldly, and then they call themselves like because they're fireflies, so glow boldly, and then they call themselves Discover Wauwatosa. Their social media is Discover Wauwatosa, and website is Discover Wauwatosa, which was for Wauwatosa and the alders and the commission and whatever a good compromise for how they wanted to use their dollars. Commission and whatever a good compromise for how they wanted to use their dollars. Because the citizens always want to see that they're growing in their own branding, because the citizens care so deeply about their own brand, and so there's got some of that work has to be done, and then we come in and assist with the hotel sales,
Right.
and then we come in and assist with the hotel sales,
Right. And we drive business because if you're a lead accepting hotel from us, and because they do that, they can get leads from us, and we send leads because there are people who don't want to be downtown, right? They don't, they can't afford the rate. They don't want, they want downtown, right? They don't, they can't afford the rate. They don't want, they want some different types of amenities that downtown doesn't have to offer. So
yeah.
So I think, just to sort of speak frankly, so we went down the road of let's hire somebody, give them the vision, down the road of let's hire somebody, give them the vision, put together. That didn't work out the way we were hoping it would. But here we all sit, had a great meeting last month. You guys are here, helping us sort of understand tourism, think about it. But we still have to form this, and I don't want to run in the rake again, where we go out and we hire somebody, and so I think what we really need, either Joe and I literally have to do this ourselves, or somebody like you can help us for the first 6 months. You just set up the infrastructure. So like as an example, you and I talked about this. You guys are a 501c6, right?
correct.
Right.
And I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Barbara doesn't either.
Because it doesn't have members.
Barbara,
That's why they said
Oh, so you couldn't do partnership. Got it.
that can be changed.
yeah.
Sure. Yeah. No, it can. But I guess my point is help us. But if you can, it'd be great
Sure.
to help us get launched.
Yeah.
And then once we're launched and we're we're looking at the right metrics. These meetings we're coming in. We're looking at because if we're talking about event calendars all the time, well, that's interesting. What we really need to be talking about is how do we participate financially in some of this stuff. So
Well, I would definitely, first thing, with the money you have right now, you need to start subscribing to a Star Report. You need to understand where the dollars are going and where they're going in the South, because we can't separate it out from ours. So that's something you guys would need to do. And I can have area, they can. So we set ours up with downtown, airport specifically, then we do South, which includes the airport and the Franklins and the Oak Creeks of the world, and then we do North, so that we do TOSA.
Milwaukee West.
Yeah, Milwaukee West, so that we can figure out where the business is going forward. And I literally did not bring business cards with me, so I will send you an email. I just remembered they're
I
in
get
my
emails
car.
from you all the time.
Yeah. So that would be the first thing I would definitely do, because then you've got some good hard data, and then you can look and see the revenue that's being produced, because the Star Report shows you revenue. It specifically shows you the revenue that's being created. It doesn't show you tax dollars, but it shows you the revenue.
So how do we? So this page is super interesting.
You guys gave us that.
Yep. But it's all the tournaments, right?
Yeah.
So what it doesn't talk about is like.
Yep.
But it's all the tournaments, right?
Yeah.
So what it doesn't talk about is like Milwaukee Milkman games.
Nope, nothing.
How do we try to get our arms around?
What we would need
The
you to
impact of that.
provide us with for Milwaukee Milkman games would be the number of tickets sold at
Yep.
each game, and then the percentage of tickets, because I'm assuming they're bought on each game, and then the percentage of tickets, because I'm assuming they're bought online, that aren't sold here.
So we would do a zip code, basically just look at zip.
Because that's what we do with the Bucks,
Yeah.
right?
She was
Because
asking in the email.
Perfect.
because we looked at with the Bucks, we look at overnight based on a percentage of how many people buy tickets outside.
And Mike Doyle was sharing this with you. He was talking about the drive-in,
Right.
So like how the bulk of the drive-in, the Milky Way drive-in, are from 60 miles out typically, which is really interesting. I thought it'd be a lot more local than that. So I think that then we take all of that and then we can come and try to get a number that.
You can also look too at when you have the STAR report, you can it gives you day by day, literally day by day. So you can see spikes
On big events.
And you can then see what's driving it. So if it's a wedding at River Lanes and the Hampton Inn spike, you'll be able to correlate that and see that.
How does the STAR report get its information? Is it
The hotels report.
It's self-reported.
Hotels report.
Okay. So you have to rely on them reporting.
It has been around since 1987, and it is the only 1987, and it is the only way that hotels measure success. So
They measure market.
Yeah, they do.
Okay,
Yeah,
they
so
want to
it's
do
it's
that.
pretty. They do checks. They make it's a pretty
Okay.
widespread in this country how people measure.
Okay.
Widespread in this country how people measure success of hotels. And it does pretty much match up when we look at our county and our city numbers with what we're getting in tax revenue. If we do it holistically, there's no material differences.
So is it fair to ask you guys for a proposal on how you could help?
Material differences.
So is it fair to ask you guys for a proposal on how you could help kind of launch
Yes.
Engage Franklin?
It is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that a fair request from the?
Yeah, I think the biggest questions from the commission here is like, so you guys are already selling at Rock Venture. So you guys are already selling at Rock Venture. How is this going to be built around that? Like, how do we, if we're building Engage Franklin, you guys are already selling at Rock Venture. So how are we separating that out? That's my biggest hurdle.
You mean in terms of what future success
Yeah,
is?
yeah, out. That's my biggest hurdle.
You mean in terms of what future success
Yeah.
is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't. So what we're doing right now, I mean, we have a sales team that is ticketing, and then we have corporate sponsorships, and the corporate sponsorship is directly tied to core assets, within the building. We talked about carving out a bunch of those assets and throwing them into stuff that we, not to say it's not valuable, but stuff that is maybe lower priced, but make for the membership offering a bit more interesting. So
Okay.
we would throw, because again, the share, like, we're incentivized to help build up the asset pool.
Yep.
But then the other thing is net new revenue streams. Creating a partnership that allows people to participate from free all the way up to, I don't know how much I'm paying with you guys, but it's not it's not a huge number, but it's it's significant. Its own brand, its own sales team. It needs to be separate from Rock Ventures. I mean, it can be helped managed by Rock Ventures, but they have to be carrying their own.
Got it.
And then from my perspective too, the other difference is the entry point
Yeah.
to participate with Engage Franklin is far less than what it is to be a sponsor at the Milwaukee Milkman or whatever. And then how we communicate to the people that are visiting, I think, is different through an Engage Franklin. It's more akin to what you were talking about earlier, like, if I'm visiting, where am I going?
Right.
Right now, if I'm visiting, where am I going?
Right.
Right now, if someone is going to a Milkman game, while we have our partners on the page, we're not saying. It's just different.
And it wouldn't also be limited to Ballpark Commons. So Croatia is a really good example of that. Like, how do we encourage them to participate? How do we encourage them to carve out an asset class to participate? How do we encourage them to carve out an asset class,
Yep.
bunch of assets that they can throw in?
But I would definitely consider doing a 501c6 so you could have partners. Because I think that gives buy-in. I truly, and maybe it's not, so we charge our hotels to receive leads. I would say the hotels, because they're gonna give you some pushback, they would just be part of it because they're the ones who are funding the commission right now. But I do think that all of this will help. I mean, to sell it to the city is that you could have more hotels here right now. There is, and looking at the occupancy, you'd be able to see that when it spikes and what your year-end occupancy is, and you would create a bigger tax base if you had more hotels here. And some of the money goes directly to the city. 30% of that 8% goes directly to the city for police, fire, whatever you want to use
That
it.
our hotels are favorable. That there's people sleeping at them.
So they don't. Your hotels don't think that they're favorable because they don't play in
We
the.
don't hear. I haven't heard. Have you guys heard much positiveness?
Lance
Occupancy.
talked about how they're coming
They're
back.
coming
They're
back.
Coming
recovering.
back, but,
He's never said that they were at 65%.
Yeah, we've never heard
coming
that.
back, but.
He's never said that they were at 65%.
Yeah, we've never heard that sitting here.
I think we were more in 46, 48%.
Yeah.
Didn't this summer they say to you that they didn't want to play with some of the tournaments because they were too full, and they didn't want to pay their rate,
So I think the issue is that
and they didn't want to pay their rate.
so I think the issue is that Hampton does not participate in this.
Right, the tournaments because of
Yeah.
the thing.
So I think what that does. So again, it's not that the market's not there. I just think because Hampton doesn't want to. I wish Lance was here because I don't want to botch.
He did say something about
He
that.
did.
He did say something about
He
that.
did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, it's like $10. So it's not a. But
Right.
it's a separate company that brokers that.
Right.
So
Right.
what happens is his numbers might be 40. So and that's what like my point is Franklin's picking up the bill, but Oak Creek's the benefactor.
Right. That's
So
what I
like-
was saying. So I was thinking that he was selling out at a. If you were at 40%,
Oh, in Hampton,
the
they should. I
smart
mean, it's
the smart
they're right
betting
next
would
door.
put you right.
Yeah.
It would
I think
you would
we
say
just need
play.
to figure out how to
Yeah.
get the numbers more consistent.
Yeah.
And I think when we're
that's the
hearing
root.
about them is
And that's part of, we're lucky that our hotel community, not considering tourism, is still tourism. It is, right? Because the business, it's the circle.
Right.
Use the circle, right? Because the circle says specifically, without the if you don't have a city that people want to live in, then you don't have a place where businesses want to be. The businesses create
Right.
the opportunities for the hotels to be built, for the hotels to put people in them. It's the circle. And you don't know where it starts. That's why it's a circle. And I think that you have to, right?
That's a good point.
You have to consider that some of these businesses wouldn't have chosen to be here if there was if it wasn't a vibrant community, and that's who they're coming to visit when they stay here, and they're still visiting, they're not living. So, we look at it. You can split it out on the Star Report specifically. You can pay to have it show you split it out on the Star Report specifically. You can pay to have it show you group, transient, and negotiated. Negotiated is basically what they're saying. That's that business that comes in because they've negotiated a special rate because they're coming in for business. Transient is your leisure, and your party or a broker. So we do split it out that way, and I'm going to tell you right now, corporate is negotiated. Corporate is nowhere near where it was in 2019. It'll be the last to come back because there's still too many travel freezes in the country. So
One of the things that was interesting that I took away from our meeting supports that helps you make the decisions. One of the things you guys said was every meeting, and you guys may look at this stuff at every meeting or not, but is to look at something like the Star Report, and you have 3 to 5 metrics that every meeting this Tourism Commission is looking at.
yes.
That's provided to you.
Every other month, I have a executive committee meeting, and what I provide to them is our Star Report, so they can see how we're faring to 2019. We're not comparing ourselves to 2020. We look at the other metrics. How many people come to the website? How many people? The other metrics. How many people come to the website? How many people? How long are they staying on the website? What are we doing in terms of sales? How many rooms have we booked? What's our goal? What's in the funnel? Those are our metrics.
I think we rely on Lance to tell us kind of
We
more.
have.
Well,
Yeah,
he
where
probably
our
gets the
gains
Star.
is. I think we rely on Lance to tell us kind of
We
more.
have.
Well,
yeah,
he
where
probably
our
gets the
gains
Star
is.
Report,
So
and maybe he can share it with you.
yeah.
Right? He probably. I'm assuming he gets it because as a hotelier, you live and die by that. Because you look at your market share as well on there. That's not something we look at, but the hotels dwell on there. That's not something we look at, but the hotels do.
But the numbers that he tells us may be mostly corporate overnight stays
Yeah.
from companies. And
Yeah.
I agree, everybody's not coming back yet.
Right. And and again, when I look at the South, we don't see the individual hotels, and you've got those small. So we do. I think it's 7 hotels that are reporting in Franklin, which I was like, there's 7 hotels in Franklin.
There's like 20 of them along 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, a bunch of them sell out by the hour. I mean, I go back to, I think the story is, the leakage. Engage Franklin, I mean, should we, and it's a big idea, but should we actually think about it more regionally because of that? I mean, or we could just say it's Franklin, we're going to do our thing, we're going to go get more hotels, and it's going to be engage in Franklin. But the reality is, Greendale's so close, Oak Creek's so close, and they're great benefactors of the stuff that we do there.
Right.
And
Just
if that-
hotels though? There's not.
No, but on the lead, like
Yeah.
like on the restaurants.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Shopping mall.
But that's going to happen. That is going to happen no matter what. But you could engage them as partners 100%.
Right.
Because the partners, it's the draw. And that's where I think now I understand what Sean is saying, where it and that's where I think now I understand what Sean is saying, where it splits off because you're the draw right now.
They are the draw.
Right. So
Right, but I'm
you're the
saying
draw.
all of this
Yeah.
is
Right.
not finding. It's not finding its way into the Hampton.
The
It's finding
draw.
its way into.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you're the draw. So the advertising happens there. Draw. So the advertising happens there so that, that's where it comes in.
Yes.
I get what you're saying. I'm not being very eloquent as I'm trying to say it, but like when someone comes into Milwaukee, they go to our website, right? Our website is our holy grail. This is our storefront. This is where our partners see the most benefit because it's there. Besides us talking about it, and there's so many of us where you don't have that. So in order to get in front of these customers, these people, these visitors, it's going to have to happen at your place.
Right.
Because that's where they're going to say, is there a screen that says visit Southridge or visit this? That's the difference. We
So-
have to think about
Yeah.
that.
So does this commission work with the economic development director of Franklin? Because looking back on Wauwatosa, okay, I'm just gonna say, like, there's a lot of like weird years, like where it's really the Wauwatosa Chamber of Commerce director before Wauwatosa was a destination. They had good bones, but there really wasn't a lot of there. And it was just as the Crown Plaza was just opening, so the only hotel that Tosa really had was the Radisson.
Yep.
And even the regional medical center, and even the regional medical center, nobody had stopped to realize we have a regional it just
The
wasn't
breath of
happening,
fresh air
right?
we have for the city.
So, yeah, so.
What's that?
You're the breath of our fresh air for the city.
He's
Well,
like,
how about that?
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So my point is that, it can happen.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So my point is that, it can happen really quickly. You can go from this awkward stage of how do we do this? And
I don't really think
like-
we're at an awkward stage.
Yeah.
I think it's the fact that there's a sensitivity factor of even the agreement we went into with the Franklin Field, even the agreement we went into with the Franklin Field on how we explain this, of how we're going to operate Engage Franklin, is so important. And the big hurdle that I just get when I talk about how excited I am about doing this is, we're already selling the Rock. The Rock has already formed this on the complex. How are we making it a community-wide thing? Message.
with future development.
With future development.
Right.
And to Mike's point, it's like, do we already have to branch out and think of Oak Creek, Glendale, Greendale or whatever? Do we have to think something that we take baby steps at it?
Take care of home first.
Yeah. That's the thing.
I think what you
a lot
have to
of
do is
people
you
are
have to
gonna.
take
Yeah.
an inventory of your assets, right? Because the Rock is just the biggest asset that Franklin has. What other assets, like we said, Croatian Park, Polar Center, these are all assets that is to go through an exercise with something or someone who can tell you this is what you have.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is what you can generate from what you have, and this is where you need to go to make it fully engaging throughout the entire city versus just
So there's been plenty.
make it fully engaging throughout the entire city versus just
So there's been plenty of other tournaments in this community other than at the Rock.
okay.
And obviously, the Rock is the biggest impact out of that. So to me, that's really our only asset at this moment and that's where our only asset at this moment and that's where I think there's potential to sell it to the community. But again, that's where I have a hard time wrapping my head around how do you steer that?
Where are the other tournaments held?
Steer that.
Where are the other tournaments held? that aren't
Well, I
at the
mean,
Rock?
like our Franklin Field had 3 tournaments this year. The soccer complex, Croatia, and then there was what's the other one? There's 2. Colonia had some soccer tournaments over there.
So
Milwaukee County Sports
Milwaukee
Complex.
the sports complex. I don't know if they did
The
anything
gun
this
show
year, but
Yeah.
so you guys, you're already
Okay,
telling me
I get what
you're
you're
telling
getting
me
at.
that there's
But
more.
come on, man.
So there is an opportunity to sell more, right?
that's the thing I'm
there's
trying
an,
to say
there's
is
an
there's
opportunity there, but because then it doesn't just. I mean, obviously you're going to continue to sell. You're not going to be able to house every tournament because you're booked, right?
Yeah.
You've got opportunities. It's really about capitalizing on those opportunities and marketing them, and then showing people what they're worth. So what they're worth to the community.
Yeah.
Right,
And-
and like the reality of all of this is that a lot of this is very political, and
that's
right.
without saying
So that's
it.
so Visit Milwaukee stat. I mean, we've had failure to launch, right? Like serious failure to launch, and not once, but I think twice. That's why I'm like really interested in having Visit Milwaukee
Sure.
help us launch,
And then
help
looking
take
at,
away the politics.
I
the
think that you
middleman.
just need to look to, again, you can also find a lot of data. Again, you can also find a lot of data by having a website. Not that's on the Franklin city site, that's an actual Engage Franklin website.
It's funny you say that because we started towards when we did the rebrand. A lot of it was geared. When we did the rebrand, a lot of it was geared towards also then starting a website to have that.
You can then measure a lot of
Yeah.
things. If you are seeing that your visitation to the website is skyrocketing, and then you have some partners on there and you see they're going to Polonia, why are they going to Polonia? Now, pulling the analytics on a regular basis to figure out where you need to be marketing, if there's money to market, and doing it that way. So we can certainly help you put together a plan of the best way to move forward, and then help you manage that plan for a little until you need to do and that you think it's potential to, and Mega's right. We met with M7. They do not talk about hospitality as economic development. And they should, because it is. Because a hotel provides a tax space like nothing else does.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So I think that there's some huge opportunity, that there is opportunities. Bringing a chain restaurant in doesn't mean that you're going to kill the local things, all the little local restaurants. It means that people are looking at you as a bigger city. And I'm not suggesting that for Franklin right now, but like for downtown, when we see that they think it's bad, I think it's good, right? If we had a Ruth's Chris, it means we made it. So I definitely think that there's some steps that we can help you to put together.
You had asked about Economic Development Department. So they are just doing electronic ads where they can geo-track and geo-fence and all of those kind of things, which might be a great opportunity for us to know what we've got and where we're headed. And I think part of the resistance has come from not having a lot of good information in a cohesive package that's easy for 6 aldermen to understand.
Right.
Sure.
So if we do the homework and we put all the pieces in place and have a
And
plan.
it does a restaurant week, right? That's local, but it engages your restaurant, like get them interested in tourism. You could start out with us by putting some money towards 3 campaigns. These could be campaigns like the one we're doing with TOSA right now, where we've done rooms when hotels are not busy, right? Tosa hotels are not busy right now, so we've done a contest. We've put some money behind digital marketing, and we came up with what they could do. So then you have something that you can go and show
Right.
the city officials. This is what we did. This is what it drove in revenue, and this is what it drove
Love
in,
that.
in
Thing like what economic development is doing, people are at the milkman game and they open their phone and they're getting ads for the
Yep.
local restaurants.
Mhm.
You know,
Yep.
those,
That's the
that's
idea.
what we need to do.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So
Okay. Cool.
sorry we took longer than
You're
15
fine.
minutes.
Had them on 15 minutes.
Yeah. Where do you want to go for here?
I thought this was great because we have to now we're at a point where like next steps are to launch Engage Franklin.
Yep.
And there's a lot of ways to do that, and I think a proposal from them will give us another consideration point of do we kind of do it ourselves again, another consideration point of do we kind of do it ourselves again. Do Joe and I just sort of run with it and report back to you? A, B, do we go out and hire somebody? Or C, do we use Visit Milwaukee?
Okay.
So I think the next meeting, if we could put ourselves in a position to evaluate those,
Makes sense.
could put ourselves in a position to evaluate those.
Makes sense.
The biggest thing we're going to tell you right away is you need a website.
I think if we can see the proposal before
Yep.
the next meeting, that'll allow.
When is your
any
next meeting?
questions.
In January?
We're going to have one in January if everyone's available.
Okay.
We're going to have one in January if everyone's available.
Okay. We'll put something together.
It'd be the third.
It's going to be
third
tough for us
Wednesday.
to have one in February, but January.
Okay. I won't be able to be here because I have a
You-
site
I
tour,
mean-
but we'll have Meg come in and do it. Site
I
tour,
mean-
but we'll have Meg come in and do it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Cool.
And it'll be a starting point just so that you
19th.
see that then we can work
Sounds
from
good.
there.
Great,
So
awesome.
know that it won't
Um,
be. I mean, obviously we're
Where are
open
we at the
to
third?
whatever we need to do
Wednesday?
to help you guys.
Third Wednesday?
Obviously we're
Where are
open
we at the
to
third?
whatever we need to do to
Wednesday?
help you guys.
Third Wednesday?
Okay.
So
Yeah, I mean, but I think so.
Yeah,
Engage
that's what we've been
Franklin will
doing.
want to be
Third
launched and branded, and by the time all the major events start to come out, which call it April-ish.
Sure.
So that's when it really starts to. We can then start to move in hotels. We'll know kind of what events we want to focus on. So as long as we hit your proposal, kind of does that, because there's still a lot of. If we're going to switch from a 501c4 to a 6, like there's still some. I just don't want I don't want to miss another year.
Sure.
in the
We
cycle.
can start that ball in motion now, right?
I think.
options by doing a 501c4.
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm not.
when
I'm not
you said
intelligent
it-
enough to talk
When you
about
said
that.
it, I went and looked at DMOs, and they give us a list of like the percentage of how many are 501c6, 501c3, and I didn't see a single
Oh, so that's
501c4
interesting.
because I don't think anyone doesn't want to have the opportunity to not have members. Want to do it at first,
Yeah.
but then
right.
eventually
Those are-
you want to have partners
Our
because you're.
intention was always to have members.
I remember,
Always.
I remember
There
seeing
was
an
an
email
attorney
when
that
we asked for
discussion
the
about it.
501c6, and then the attorney said, that's when,
Okay.
Yeah, and that email that said forwarded back and forth from, that email that said forwarded back and forth from the attorneys to Carrie.
right,
There was some
yeah, where they
extensive.
said, basically,
That's why
Okay.
they picked it forth.
Yeah. And then the other thing, again, I don't know what you have, but to launch an organization, you have to have a website.
Which we have, it just
Specific.
needs to be redesigned.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be retweaked,
We
yeah.
need
So
a
is it-
person- We need a person to run the website.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can
Well,
pay
the website-
you can
That's
pay
intention
someone.
was-
Yeah, you can pay someone to manage the analytics and all of that. You don't need to have someone here. You can outsource
Yeah.
someone to manage the analytics and all of that. You don't need to have someone here. You can outsource that where they're going to provide you with hard data.
what
That
is
you
the
can
website, Sean?
I can send that to you. It's in.
Yeah, we've got it.
You guys got all that info.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
It's not.
I think
It's
it
not a
was-
DMO website. It's not. It's
no.
very. It's sort of
Very
like
basic.
tourism meets
Right.
economic development.
I looked it up after we met with
It
you.
might actually be.
Yeah, I think it is. It's
'Cause
and
they
I
were-
think it says Franklin Tourism Commission.
We gave Carrie the
Thiel did it.
permission. Yes, Thiel did it. We gave Carrie the permission to transfer it over to you guys, and then that's the last where we left off.
Okay.
Was she was working with somebody with you guys.
So maybe I just looked up and I saw the Tourism Commission, and I saw you guys, maybe
I
there
might
was an
still own
Engage
Engage
Franklin that I
Franklin on my
didn't
own.
see, so.
No, there's just there's nothing on Engage Franklin. I think there's actually
There used to
Facebook.
be- There used to be
Somebody
West
created a
domain
Facebook.
Oh.
that directed to it, but it doesn't work anymore.
Wasn't
Okay.
there a Celebrate Franklin too?
That's the tourism site that Deal
Okay. Okay.
created.
Okay.
So we created a site when we launched the brand,
Okay,
and then we quickly went into the Engage Franklin, the Franklin Field deal,
right.
with the intent of transferring over the website to be controlled by them.
Yeah, so,
controlled by somebody else.
April would be it.
Controlled by them.
Yeah, so,
controlled by somebody else.
April would be it. It's gonna be a tough push. Just right, because we need to inventory assets, understand what's happening. I think there's things you can do, and we're
Mhm.
gonna help you with that anyway,
Yeah.
right away. But in order to launch it, there's things that we would need to have. And we can go back and look at some of these things and just take a look and see what we can do, but we'll come back with some
From our side, I don't
options.
think we're as far off. I mean, we've been talking about this for a while,
Right.
so it's more.
And maybe it's just us looking at it to see.
Yeah,
For a while,
Right.
so it's more.
And maybe it's just us looking at it to see.
Yeah, and
figuring out
there's people that can develop sites for us really, really quick.
Okay,
Um,
good.
Could I ask, is Oak Creek pursuing you for,
Again, we never,
RFP. no?
The conversation stalled pre-COVID.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We,
No?
The conversation stalled pre-COVID.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so nothing has.
No,
So-
nothing at this point. I know they're
Okay.
still using Savage right now,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
They
Yeah,
are.
most likely.
And I don't,
Yeah.
I don't think they have a director. So I think they just stopped at that point. Just
Oh, they don't have a
because-
director anymore?
I don't think they do. They lost the director.
Yeah.
It stalled for us right before they do. They lost the director.
Yeah.
It stalled for us right before COVID because they lost that director, and then I don't
Right.
know if they ever hired anyone again.
They did hire someone, but I'm not sure she's still there.
Okay.
I know
Yeah.
they
Mhm.
had.
Great.
See, Oak Creek is all those hotels are benefiting
Right.
from what's
They
happening
have
in
more
Franklin.
exactly.
They don't have the kinds of assets
Correct.
like the Rock.
Sounds like they don't need them though. They're benefiting from them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, they are. They're getting
Yeah.
the tax dollars.
They're getting tax dollars.
They
yes.
are, and that's the thing. That's where you need to make the point so that some of that tax dollar stays here. So,
Right.
mhm.
Exactly.
Well, thank you.
all right.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much.
For you guys, so we have a letter of intent with another hotel to go on what would be R1 in Ballpark Commons. It's a more boutique hotel.
Right.
I think it's like 40, I want to say 40 rooms.
So this is a different one than the one that's been talked about. So you're doing two.
Smaller event space
Okay.
too. Thank you, Peggy. I appreciate you
Nice to
coming
meet
out.
all of you Airbnb
Thank you.
stuff.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a nice
See you.
holiday.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
So there's two.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Okay.
And they'll have a smaller event space too, which will help with weddings and that kind of stuff. But so that's
Okay.
exciting news.
Great.
Again, it's very similar, right? When you run the star.
Great.
Again, it's very similar, right? When you run the star report, that says one thing, but then when you start, looking at, and it's the same way we got the other hotels, you actually just truly look at how much leakage is there, what
Yeah.
book of business, that comes from the Rock or Ballpark Commons, and how much of that book of business can we control, and then it makes their underwriting very, very easy. And how much of that book of business can we control, and then it makes their underwriting very, very easy.
Okay.
So we actually think there's one more kind of 95-room hotel in the area. Probably not on Ballpark Commons, but I know there's other discussion going on very, very close about a larger development that could happen.
I
So
remember Kelly talking about a new hotel wanted to.
larger development that could happen.
I
So
remember Kelly talking about a new hotel wanted to go in down by Lowe's, by those condos.
off of Rawson.
Off
That was the
Rawson.
Holiday Inn. Yeah. That-
Oh, so that's what moved to.
No, I don't know what happened to that, but it just
Okay.
fell off.
Okay.
My that redevelops a certain area
Okay.
that will provide for, close to the Rock, that will provide for another significant hotel play.
Okay.
But just trying to be vague because we're.
Great.
Yep.
We have tourism agenda organization, so I left this open to see what we want to start putting on our next agendas to kind of discuss, or if we kind of just want to leave it up to focusing on Engage Franklin right now, if there's anything that anybody wants to focus on for where we're at with, Mark and I, Mark was discussing that he's going to take over the Milkmen for us, and he's going to help us calendar all those events and calendar all of the things that are going on at Ballpark Commons for, starting on at Ballpark Commons for, starting pretty much in February, to make sure that AR Franklin Field Agreement is utilized correctly. So I think there's some dialogue that can be talked about there. One of the things that I thought we could do is put on our calendar of some ideas that we have. One of the things that I thought we could do is put on our calendar of some ideas that we have that we might want to do there, so that Mark can take it to them to start discussing. But if there's anything else that we want to discuss that we want to do in the community, we can put that on our agenda if anybody's interested in for next month.
Can I ask, is the commission still going to consider supporting some of the various groups that have requested funding? I'm thinking of the
We can put that all down on the agenda if we would like to talk about, revisit that based off of what we learned tonight. I think looking at what Visit Milwaukee is and what they're, it looks like they support a little bit of everything. So that's a good idea to bring up and have that conversation again.
So I think this would be the time to do it, especially for events that will be happening in the summer.
Okay.
Because I know that sort of fell by the wayside for a bit.
Are we going to dedicate some time to discussing how we want that management with Engage Franklin to be? Like you said, either they do it themselves, they hire somebody,
Yep.
we're involved in it.
So we put our own conversation for Engage Franklin.
Yeah, because he's going to ask the question, and we're going to have to have some kind of consensus of where we see it going.
Yep, that can be on the next one. Because you're right, they're going to bring a proposal. He's going to want to move forward. We're going to have some conversation. So maybe we put that as a priority, so we're not sitting here until 11. Some conversation. So maybe we put that as a priority, so we're not sitting here until 11 o'clock at night. Like, right? And then the next ones we can kind of plan our strategy based off of that. Okay. Is there anything coming up that you think that we'll be asked to participate in the next month or two? Coming up that you think that we'll be asked to participate in the next month or two?
I can't
That
think.
kind of you were thinking about?
Well, I know that the parks, concerts in the parks would probably begin, putting their summer program together.
Yep.
Sometime this winter. That's one that comes to mind immediately.
Okay.
There may be others.
All right. I like your idea though, like let's kind of put that on the agenda to talk about right away since it's going to be fresh in our head. That's kind of why I asked, like, if they could send a proposal before the meeting, then we can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like rather than, okay, this is what this looks like.
Yeah, a couple months ago, we had a conversation and discussed different options, but I don't think there was ever really a consensus. And
No, and I agree with you. I think the consensus that I have is that they're going to give us the proposal and then he's either going to run with it and do it himself.
Who do you mean?
Mike.
Mike, okay,
Mike.
thank you.
I have a
which is
feeling.
fine. My personal preference is not that this committee's involved in performing those duties.
No, I agree with
Yeah,
you.
that's what
I agree with you.
Right.
I don't want any responsibility on that either. I don't have. I agree. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Anything else? Nope. 7:28. Close tourism agenda organization. Agenda item 6. Voucher approvals. I have one that I need to get approved. It's for this lovely need to get approved. It's for this lovely recorder that I did not use tonight, and a case and a memory charge. So it cost us $76. I tried to be as cost effective as I possibly could.
I think you were.
But then what this will do is this will allow us. But then what this will do is this will allow us to use these and send the recordings to Sandy, I believe. Which, just so you guys are aware, Sandy has been extremely helpful.
I move to accept the
Okay.
proposal there.
Can I get a second?
A second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Next meeting, that would put us in January.
The third Wednesday is the 19th.
Does the 19th work for everybody? Okay, let's do January 19th. At, now for February, let's try to see if we can steer that. I can be on it. It would be from a Zoom call. I'll probably be in Arizona, so for spring training. So it's a matter of, do we want to skip it, or do we?
I think we probably, he may be coming back to us
Okay.
soon.
Okay. So February. Let's schedule February. That would be the 16th.
16th. I would have to do a Zoom too.
Okay. Let's do February 16th. Is there any time in February that you are here?
No.
No? You're gone the
Well,
whole?
I'm gone, no.
No? You're gone the
Well,
whole?
I'm gone,
I think I'll be back by
28
the,
to
I think
5th.
I should be back by the 16th, so are you good with the 16th, and if you have to zoom in?
I can do a Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ed, is it true, Kelly made some comment about the fact that the city was, is it true, Kelly made some comment about the fact that the city was not allowing any Zoom meetings any longer. Is that true?
I have not, I don't know.
Okay, I remember she said that one time.
I do know that there was, when I was doing this, there was some question that if I do need anybody, if Lance needs to go on Zoom, that's fine.
Oh, okay,
So I'll reach out to Sandy and ask her
Okay.
that too.
so at
Because we're
least,
kind of not really a city committee.
We're really not.
no,
I think
well,
they were talking about more city meetings,
Okay.
Mm.
you know, council meetings.
okay.
Do we, now, I think, are we gonna be doing the third Wednesdays now? Is that?
Oh, we had changed
So-
that because of Carrie.
I
Yeah.
did tell, the website says Thursday still?
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
I'll
I haven't
tell-
checked
you know
it
what you
lately.
should do? If you're talking about the website, you should have them take her name off the city
Yeah.
website.
If Carrie's name's on the website?
So
That explains,
shows that
I started
website.
getting some emails, and there was some weird names on it, but it was about tourism, and website Carrie, and then it's on Thursday. We
double
did,
check,
it
yeah.
was Thursday because it was easier for Carrie.
Right,
Wednesdays are easier for me. Is it okay for everybody else?
yeah, that's fine, but it
I
just.
can't
we
find a
should-
sitter on Thursdays,
Yeah.
so.
I mean, I think we should just clarify it even just for the
Okay.
public, you know, I mean.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right, even just for the
Okay.
public, you know, I mean.
Right.
That makes sense.
I mean, I noticed it on the sign on 36, they always change it, but. it's-
Okay, cool. Do we want to get March in there too right away, or?
We could do that.
Sure.
I mean, if we just continue with the third Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll continue.
You know, just
Okay, we'll do that then.
Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll continue.
You know, just,
Okay, we'll do that then.
Mhm.
So then the March is the 16th too. Okay,
Before you close,
yes.
going back to vouchers, was everything resolved with the check for Iraq?
No,
Resolved with the check for Iraq?
no. Where I'm at with that is I sent the budget over. Everything seems to be okay with that. They implemented our budget that we approved. They said thank you. And I'm going to put a nice email together to the mayor and say very nicely, can you please have the check cut the last week of December so that I can pick it up and take it over to the Rock. I talked with Mike a little bit, and he is fine with it being a little late. He's like, you have till the 30th of December. So I haven't gotten around to emailing the mayor to just say kindly, can we?
What's the hangup?
Hmm?
What's the hangup?
The hang up
I thought
is,
Paul was gonna have it taken care of before he was done.
the hang up is that by law, we did not have the request of the 150 for 2021. So we had to put it on our budget for 2022, and we can take it right away in 2022, but we can't take it until 2022. So that's where I was going to ask kindly if I take it on the weekend of the 30 dated the 1st, or can it be dated I think it has to be dated when we put in the voucher, but I was told we didn't have to revote. We were all set and ready to go. So I just have to email the mayor and just see if he can, if we can,
Okay.
so. Any other questions on that?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, then, the adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.